This is a follow-up to my guide on MvM Demoknight. Please watch that video for some much needed context before watching this. So last week, I made a guide on playing Demoknights in MvM. It was revolved around the Islander playstyle, utilizing crit on kill and increased speed from the Islander to kill crowds of robots. What if I told you that was not the best way to play Demoknight? It had glaring flaws. He was way too expensive to invest in with a whole whopping 3,500 credits to max out his sword. He also leans too heavily on crit on kill, which is susceptible to teammates stealing his kills. And what if I were to tell you that you actually don't need crit on kill at all? What if I told you that you can save up to 1,500 credits to buy more useful upgrades? Drum roll, please! The Skullcutter Tide Turner Demoknight!
Wait, hang on a minute. Didn't you say the Tide Turner was inferior to the charging charge?
Yes, I did. And I was very wrong. The Tide Turner is actually more valuable to the Demoknight as the mission goes on and he earns more money. Don't get me wrong, the charging charge still has plenty of value when it comes to fighting a lot of soldiers, demos, and pyros in the early game. But the Tide Turner shines when you don't need the resistances from the charging charge anymore. Plus, you can do this, which I somehow just managed to completely gloss over. Of course, you do lose charge meter after taking damage when charging, but it's also quite easy to get it back when you score a kill, which refills your charge meter back to full, and then you can charge again. And there's also the chance that you won't even take damage while charging. Demoknight actually does not take damage 99% of the time. I was wrong about this too. Robots will focus on whoever they see in front of them first, logging onto the target for the most part. When Demoknight has proper positioning when he cannot be seen, he can avoid a lot of damage when he goes in for the swings. The one exception to this though are robots that are programmed to focus on the closest targets. You will see this on robots that use melee weapons, but for the most part it's just as simple as backing away for them to get distracted again. And the Tide Turner suffers issues with his main downside in MvM, where he will be taking damage 99% of the time, and he can only mini crit after charging.
No, unacceptable!
Yes, you will mini crit after charging, but this can be overridden if you have crit on kill activated. However, there is another way of overriding this, and that's where the Skullcutter comes in. Let's review this weapon again. The Skullcutter has a 20% damage bonus and caps at 95% damage with upgrades. Yes, you can ghost upgrade this to 100%. If you're a psychopath, you do suffer with the 15% move speed penalty, but this becomes a non-issue when you take advantage of the Tide Turner's charging bonus. Plus it's reduced when you pair the booties and the shield together. And yes, unlike other swords, the Skullcutter deals random crits. But let's examine that stat into greater detail, because this benefit is way more significant than you and I think. Okay, so, random crits on the melee weapon has a base chance of 15% to trigger. This ramps up to a grand total of 60% chance, and in order to reach this point, you need to deal 800 damage to robots in total within the last 20 seconds. Crit chance doesn't reset to 15% on triggering. Instead, the bonus crit chance decays over the aforementioned 20 seconds, until it's back to 15%. You may think 800 damage is too steep to reach the maximum crit chance. However, that only really is the case in PvP. When it comes to MvM, it is actually super easy to reach this threshold due to the abundance of robots to damage. So it can be safe to assume that the Skullcutter has a 60% chance to randomly crit. And remember when I said that you need to deal damage to robots to ramp up the critical hit chance to maximum? Well, I specifically said robots because this does not apply to damaging tanks. The tank is classified as an NPC, the same as bosses like the Horseman, Monoculus, and Marasmus, so you can't ramp up the crit chance from them. This is why you can only do 1 to 2 crit swings at random, but can just land 6 crit swings on a giant back to back. Still, I wouldn't say that this stops the Skullcutter from being one of the best weapons to use for tank busting.
What is every class's best MvM upgrade? For the Demoknight, we gotta go with his signature perk, crits on kill. It's the only thing keeping Demoknight even remotely viable.
No!
After playing with the Skullcutter for several community missions, and speaking with a friend of mine that has a lot of experience playing this version of Demoknight, it is actually quite possible to skip the crit on kill upgrade entirely. The random crits from the Skullcutter occurs way more often than you think, and the best way to trigger it as often as possible would be the use of the attack speed upgrade. If we're answering Wheezy's video topic in question, this is the best upgrade for a Skullcutter Demoknight. Crit on kill goes from a mandatory upgrade to a situational upgrade. The best situation to pick up this upgrade now would be against Uber Medics to guarantee that one-hit kill with crits, especially if you go beyond damage bonus level 1. But if you have any main meta killers such as Sticky Demo, Explosive Headshot Sniper, or even Spy on the team, this upgrade can be avoided for the entire mission. Earlier I talked about how the push force reduction and shield recharge rate are needed to make a good Demoknight. Well, after discussion and playing without them, they are not much of a requirement as I thought they would. Shield recharge rate can actually be skipped entirely due to the Tide Turner's instant charge recharge on kill. And even without the Tide Turner, Demoknight just has to be actively killing robots to refill his charge back up. It can still hold value for map traversal, but that is dependent on whether your teleporter is active and whether or not your team is steamrolling the mission at the front. Still, I would rather spend on more useful upgrades. As for skipping over the push force reduction, it's still quite debatable for me. On one hand, without push force reduction, you have an opportunity to escape using knockback should things go wrong. But on the other hand, it's quite easy for, let's say, a soldier to juggle you up into the air and suspend your momentum when engaging. You were trying to kill this guy and he just completely countered you. You can, of course, shield charge to get out, but sometimes you won't have your charge meter back. So you'll have to strafe mid-air hoping you can recover. Or in the worst case scenario, be shot into the corner until you fucking die. This is where push force reduction comes in handy.
Nice cock.
But if Demoknight has no problem with knockback at all, this upgrade can also be worth skipping over. So we can skip crit on kill, shield recharge rate, push force reduction, and account that the Skullcutter only needs 3 damage upgrades compared to other swords to max out. It is possible to save up to 1,550 credits on Demoknight, or 1,100 credits with the shield upgrades. That is about 2 waves worth of payout. This means Demoknight just needs health on kill, attack speed, and damage bonus on his Skullcutter before body upgrades, bringing up to a grand total of 2,400 to min-max, or at the minimum of 2,200 should Demoknight only really need 2 points of health on kill. For reference, a Pyro needs $1,800 to min-max his Flamethrower, and a Soldier needs $2,350 to min-max his Beggar's Bazooka. Before we move on, let's quickly go over his new upgrade routes. 2 points of health on kill and 1 point of attack speed is good enough to start with if we only have 400 credits. Once we get more money, we'll invest into 3 to 4 points into health on kill and then max out attack speed. Then we can move on to upgrading damage bonus to min-max Skullcutter. Wait. Where the hell am I? Demoknight is a good crowd clearer, sure, but he cannot keep up with the likes of Soldier, Pyro, and Demoman. Pyro is also strong against giants thanks to his Flamethrower's Air Blast or his Phlogistonator's crit boost, but Demoknight really isn't despite his own crit boost upgrade. Demoknight is very likely to die fast, so he's kind of forced to slice up small robots while his team deals with giants.
Unacceptable.
This is not the case with using the Skullcutter, because Demoknight will not only be good at crowd clearing, but he then becomes an excellent main giant killer. He has reduced speed, but remember, the Tide Turner can close the distance and recharges to 100% for every kill, and you can body block at corners to circumvent the issue of those that try to run past. For giants, of course, Demoknight has to make sure they are distracted before going in to avoid all the damage, but in the event where he's being targeted, it's still possible to contribute significant damage through healing support. Scout's Mad Milk, Soldier's Conjurer, and of course Medic himself can help Demoknight survive the incoming damage. With high investment into resistances towards late game, Demoknight can actually solo some giants. If there are those that still remain problematic though, it's just a simple solution of getting them distracted before going in. However, you don't want to be brain dead when attacking, because it's easy for one of your teammates to point the giant towards your side and you will be in big trouble. The angle of hitting the giant is actually quite generous, so you can keep track of whatever the giant is pointing at and who they are targeting while still dealing damage. Towards the conclusion of the last video, I asked the question of whether or not Demoknight was worth picking up, and I answered with a stern no. I was very wrong about that statement, so after going back on it, it's time to answer the question again. Is Demoknight worth playing in MvM? Yes. Absolutely. The Skullcutter variant of Demoknight has the capacity to carry the entire team when he's given the proper chance. In several community missions that I've played, including Expert, I was consistently in the higher percentage of team damage contribution, sometimes to the point of being the highest damage dealer of both against robots and tanks. In fact, we can go even higher if Medic believes in pocketing a Demoknight of all classes. Also, I want to point out that none of these people I played with were bad at all. They were putting in the same effort as I was. Playing Demoknight was also the most fun I've ever had in playing MvM. Sure, I can deal better damage if I went Beggar Soldier, Grass Beast Heavy, or a Spy even, but their playstyles to me now are just comfort food. I love just charging into a group of robots and somehow just making it out alive. I love when I am just slicing up giants and they have no idea that I'm right behind them. If I had to choose between a Flog Pyro and a Skullcutter for destroying a tank, I'd go with the Skullcutter 100%. I'll say one thing that I haven't mentioned from the last video. Demoknight is not very internet friendly. In fact, he may be the worst person to play if you have to deal with 200 or more ping. I still managed to put in a decent amount of damage in this mission that I was playtesting, but my god was it just horrible to go through. Not just the mission itself, but how awkward it was when attacking robots, just rubber banding from every knockback I was taking. Honestly, I think this is the only thing that makes Demoknight not worth picking up in a mission. Well, I guess there is also the gatekeeping that is present in MvM's man up mode.
No pyro, no pyro.
Man, shut your bitch ass up.
But I mean, you could also go play the community MvM missions instead. Also costs $0 to play, so that's a plus too. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate everyone who came to this after watching that last video. I'm still gonna leave that video up because I think there's still some valuable information in it, and while the Islander Demoknight is inferior to the Skullcutter Knights, it's still something that people can follow as an alternate build. By the way, I'll be streaming the upcoming Galvanized Gauntlet operation that's supposed to be coming sometime this month. Alright, I'll see you all soon.